welcome to Wednesday Wisdom with Will, a series where we talk about all of the developments in AI, especially in the startup ecosystem. And I have with me Will Poole. Will Poole is co-founder and managing partner at Capria Ventures and also our evangelist-in-chief for all things AI. Hi, Will.
Hello.
Well, you and I haven't spoken for a bit. And clearly, for a bit in the world of AI means too long because so much has happened in the last 3-4 weeks. DeepSeek came stealthily and took the world unawares and has created a storm. And it's almost tempting to not have to comment with the noise it's made. But 2 years ago, we put our stake in the ground as a VC that's going to back businesses using AI to build even better businesses in the emerging markets. So we can't not talk about DeepSeek. Well, what does DeepSeek really mean for businesses in the emerging markets?
Well, let's start by doing a quick sync on what it really means broadly and why the storm has been created. And there's really three things to consider. One is it did come out of nowhere, apparently, and that's a bit of a surprise because most things AI are talked about in research areas and so on over time. Another is that they claimed that they only spent $6 million to train it. Now, I've read that that number goes up to 1.6 billion from some estimates and 6 million from their statement. Who the hell knows where it actually is? But it's pretty clear that it was less. And let me talk about why. Is that they relied on something called reinforcement learning, which is a model that does not require lots and lots of human effort to prepare and tag and label data. And so the conventional closed source models, what they do is they have lots and lots of data that people tag and do things to label, is called, and to make their models learn from that labeled data. And that's very expensive. And then they run through lots and lots of that data, and that's very expensive. And they create these very large models. So these guys have used reinforcement learning, requires much less human intervention, number one. And they're also doing something called distillation, where they take other models and use those models to train their model. So the net result and what this means for the world is that they, and now Alibaba, who came out with another model that's not dissimilar in terms of capability, have made it much cheaper to create new foundation models that are highly capable, and they've made it open source, so therefore they're going to be readily available almost for free almost everywhere. So the cost of training has come way down. How much, we can argue, doesn't really matter. It's come way down, and the cost of using the model potentially moves to being nearly free when you put this on a low-cost computing device and move it out to the edge of wherever people are. So what that means to the world is that the cost of using highly capable of AI has gone down by 1+ order of magnitude, which means that, in my experience, demand will go up comparably, right? Demand elasticity in technology is very much there. And so if the costs come down, then people will find new places to use it. And in the developing markets, costs are very important. They're talent rich, cash poor. Well, now you're going to have lots of talent pointing at being solutions that make use of this amazing technology that costs so much less than it did just 2 weeks ago.
But hyper-focused on emerging markets, what can you say about?
Well, you're right. What I said actually goes everywhere, right? Applies everywhere. But I believe it applies even more so in emerging markets. And let me give you an example why. One of our companies about a year ago, we helped them get going on replacing customer service agents with AI chatbots. And their costs of what they're paying OpenAI were high enough initially that they actually were considering putting people back in place instead of the AI. Now, we worked together, and that cost came down, so they have not actually brought humans back in to replace the AI. But that just gives you an idea of how cost conscious businesses are in the developing economies, the global south. So by open sourcing a highly capable model, making it much more resource efficient and letting it run almost anywhere, that means that the utilization can be that much higher while meeting the cost constraints of the global south.
But we've also learned, well, in life in general, there are no free lunches. And this reduction in cost, which is fabulous in the opportunity that it'll give to many developing businesses and developers, what does this really, what do we have to be aware about?
The fact is that technology can be used for good and for bad purposes, and that's well understood. And there's many people who've rightfully been very concerned that the pace of AI development is such that we're not considering the negative consequences. The most benign negative consequences are still bad, and they're job loss. The really bad negative consequences are people doing things like designing bioweapons or other such things, high quality phishing attacks. So things are going to truly damage society at modest or great scale using AI. So job loss, as bad as that sounds, might be one of the more benign aspects of AI happening so quickly. So the fact that you now have highly capable models that are open source, which means that they don't necessarily have guardrails or safety features in them, or those safety features could be removed, means that the bad guys are going to get access to this technology and do bad things with it. And there's frankly nothing we can do about that. That's what's sad. You can't legislate it away. There's the genies are out of the bottle. And so what that means is that A, we have to all be more aware that bad things will be happening. And B, there's going to be a new industry starting to build of founders finding ways, or incumbent companies, to combat the bad things that are happening, whether that's their copyright violations or phishing attacks or whatever they might be. So those are the kinds of things that keep me up at night a little bit. But there's both good things and bad things that will happen with any kind of technology advancing this fast.
Well, I want to shift focus a little bit, stay with the larger theme of what DeepSeek's done, but really want to understand what it means for closed source models in the context of open models. You just spoke about the highly developed open source models like the new DeepSeek and the one by Alibaba and the earlier Meta and Mistral, versus the closed models, GPT-4, you had Claude, and you had Gemini, right? Is this the end of closed models?
Well, I'm pretty sure if you asked Sam Altman, he would be very clear, or anybody at Google or anybody at Anthropic, they'd say absolutely not. And I'd be hard pressed to argue with them. But I think that the challenge that's coming against them is very significant. And if you want to simply quantify that challenge, look at how much money came out of the stock prices of NASDAQ, the big companies that are operating in this space when this thing got announced, right? So a lot of concern that the closed environments are under attack by these highly capable open environments. That said, I believe that the investments being made by those leaders in the closed environment will obviously not go away. They will continue. They're still raising money. They're still got lots of great engineers. They're still building innovation, but they're going to be building on what might be a more commoditized base layer. So the foundation layers, there's now 7 of them that are comparable quality. If that thing becomes more and more commoditized, then what they're going to be doing is pointing their efforts above that. And that's actually where agentic AI comes in. That's where the other innovations that are obviously being driven very, very hard and fast there are going to come in. So I think competition is always a wonderful thing. Open source, when I was at Microsoft back in the day, caused us great competition. And ultimately, we embraced it broadly and learned to live with it and make it part of our business model. That's the same thing's going to happen here, is that the closed guys are going to have to learn to both compete with and live within an environment that's got a mixture of closed and open source, and they're going to have to just innovate fast and make sure they're adding value above that base layer of what increasingly commoditized foundation model LLMs.
Just to push this a little more, because when we talk about big incumbents with billions of dollars at stake, one can't but remember what happened to Lehman Brothers, right? I mean, is it too big to fail? Sometimes are you going to have billions chasing nothing just because it's too big to fail?
You could find some pundits out there that'll argue that's the case. But if I were a betting man, I would not be. If I could short OpenAI stock, would I short it? No. It's privately held, so you can't. But what I know, I'm not betting against those guys. There may be some other people that are, but I'm not betting against them for the reasons I just said. I do think, though, anybody that claims they know where this is going to be in a year from now, 2 years from now, I think is probably a little bit confused, because just what we saw in the past few weeks shows us how quickly the landscape can change. And nobody would have thought you could get a high quality, industry leading level of results foundation model using reinforcement learning and distillation that runs incredibly efficiently even a few weeks ago, and now you can. So algorithmic improvement, all these things are going to continue to happen at a rapid pace. The innovation is faster than anybody's ever seen before. There's all great stuff. And it's really particularly good for the founders that we work with, because they are able to make use of these incredible platforms and produce more value for their customers. And that's what we're all about.
Great. You've cued my next question, moving away from the theoretical. How are our founders using AI? I want to shine the spotlight in this conversation on Better Place. And I'd also like you to talk about some of the companies, or a company that we're seeing in the pipeline that's using AI cleverly and to build a better model.
So Better Place is an example of a company that they're a HR management solutions company, a frontline workforce solutions company that had no AI strategy at all 2+ years ago, like most other companies, right? They're solving problems for companies. They involve people and SaaS software, and they've gone from having no AI strategy to now they built a solution to deal with a really vexing problem that Reliance, one of their biggest customers, has, which is they hire literally 1 million people per year. And hiring, these are frontline workers. It's a relatively commodity workforce. It's very expensive to interview and try to figure out which of those people you want. And you deal with biases in hiring, where the hiring manager might be more likely to hire more guys than women, or more family members than non-family members. And what they've done is they've put AI into the hiring loop. And so the AI now does the first interviewing of this frontline workforce. And even before they apply, the AI can say, hey, you'd be good at this job, but not that job. So the AI can point the frontline worker to the right place to apply. They then go and apply. The AI can then process that application and help the hiring manager make an unbiased decision about who they should hire. And as a result of that, their participation in the workforce of women have gone up dramatically. And so that's actually a key thing for that company. And they've had a reduction in the cronyism and other things that happen in that kind of hiring environment. And they process in, I think, less than 6 months, 3.5 million AI-based interviews, right? That's just incredible, out of starting at zero, right? So that's an example of a company building an AI strategy, putting it to work for a very large customer, and having it have a positive impact on the business of that customer in a few short months. The second example, and I won't name the companies, but we've looked at quite a few companies in the area of AI interviewing. We look at these for 2 reasons. One, we interview a lot of people ourselves for hiring, and so we want to actually be a consumer of this technology. And number 2 is there's people that are making solutions that we want to invest in at an even earlier stage. And we've looked at a number of them that are AI only, and it turns out that they have some pretty big deficiencies. They don't really think as much about the user experience. They don't think about what does it take within the entire corporate hiring side. What they do is solve a point problem of AI interviews person, gives answer. But then you think about all the things that good SaaS software does, they don't do a good job of that. That's been one deficiency. Another deficiency has been cost. Some of them are incredibly expensive, the well-developed ones. They're really meant for very large enterprises. And it's such that we as a lean venture firm, we wouldn't even use them. So one thing that we got excited about, though, is a couple of companies we've seen use a mixture of AI and humans together to solve the problem. And so here's the place where, and this might be a more uniquely Global South thing, you probably wouldn't see this coming out of Silicon Valley. They have expert interviewers and AIs working in combination to help look at the candidate pool, run them through the process, have a good SaaS backend that's attuned to the needs of the hiring company, and produce much better, more efficient hiring outcomes. So we're excited in general about companies and founders that are looking at this combination of human talent and AI working in combination to produce better business results.
Thanks, Will. Well, all we can say is we live in incredibly exciting times, and I'm sure when we catch up again in 2 weeks, there would have been something else we hadn't anticipated. So, thank you for breaking this down this time, and looking forward to chatting with you in a few weeks.
We'll see you soon.